Welcome in to Duval Daily, presented by GenJag.com. I'm Jordan DeLugo. Thank you so much for tuning in. Right now, we've got Jaguars and Cowboys. The boys are riding into Duval County, TIAA Bank Field, 1 p.m. on Sunday. We're talking keys to victory. And I'll also offer my final score prediction at the end of this thing. The Jaguars are 5-8, coming off a big win in Nashville over the Tennessee Titans. Cowboys, they just narrowly escaped with a victory against the Houston Texans in Jerry World. Barely beat the Texans at home. Almost suffered the same fate the Jaguars did at the hands of the Texans earlier this year in Jacksonville. But both teams were able to win last week. Both teams feeling good. Jaguars 5-8, still got their playoff hopes alive. Very much so, have their playoff hopes alive. A lot of different ways it can go down over the last couple weeks between the Jaguars and Titans to where the Jaguars could eventually end up winning the AFC South. But it all is going to come down to, can the Jaguars take down the Titans again in Jacksonville this time at the end of the season in the season finale. But first things first, the Jaguars, they don't have to win this game, but it is a huge game. If they win this, they give themselves a much better shot at taking home the AFC South title at the end of the regular season and sneaking into the playoffs here. How do the Jaguars win this one? What are their keys to victory? I'll tell you in just a moment. From my vantage point, first, I'd like to remind you to follow me on Twitter. You can also hit Generation Jaguar up on Generation Jag, and hit the like and subscribe button here on YouTube if you enjoy the content. Also hit the notification bell so you do not miss a show on here. So, getting into these keys to victory, y'all. For me, it starts on the defensive side of the ball for the Jaguars. If you want any chance of consistently slowing the Cowboys down and staying in this game, it starts with the run. Tony Pollard is a home run threat every time he touches the ball. They do a great job of getting him in space, clearing rushing lanes for him, getting him to the second level, and then he does the rest with his speed, his quickness, elusiveness, ability to break arm tackles. He's a special runner, and they use him primarily in between the 20s. Then you talk about bringing in Ezekiel Elliott for the dirty work. He's still a very talented runner, a very tough runner, and they've got a really good run blocking offensive line, so it's going to be tough to achieve what we're trying to achieve here with this key to victory, slowing down the rushing attack. But I don't think there's any way the Jaguars beat the Cowboys if the Cowboys run the ball consistently in this game. Why? It keeps Trevor Lawrence off the field. For one, you want Trevor Lawrence on the field, and I know the Jaguars have been able to score quickly. They've been able to win some games despite not having a very favorable time of possession. But I think with the way the Cowboys are able to run the ball and do some precision, quick strike, passing offense, if you can't slow down their rushing attack, at least at times throughout this contest, you're not going to see Trevor on the field enough. It's going to wear down the defense, and you're not going to consistently get them off the field trying to stop them throwing the ball if they can run it at will. So you've got to come out and be aggressive against the run, be physical, but you've also got to maintain your gaps, maintain your assignment, maintain your discipline in order to have any shot of slowing down the Cowboys' rushing attack. Secondly, Trevor's got to be Trevor, but we already know that. I think he will be in this contest. The Cowboys, they have a great defensive front with Micah Parsons, with DeMarcus Lawrence, some of these other guys, Dorrance Armstrong, Dante Fowler. So they've got a front, but Trevor Lawrence does a great job getting the ball out quickly when he knows he needs to. I think he'll be able to do that against the Cowboys defense. So my thing is, when you look at the Jags offense, Trevor's going to be Trevor. He has been really effective against every single different type of coverage this year. There's 2 quarterbacks in the NFL with positive EPA against every single type of defense they've faced this year. Patrick Mahomes and Trevor Lawrence. So the Cowboys tend to run a lot of man coverage. I think the Jaguars will be fine taking what they can get against man coverage with their skill players on the outside and over the middle. But my worry here is, where is the shoe going to drop? Is Cam Robinson going to forget how to block? Or Jawan Taylor going to have one of his games where he just looks a little lost? Like he forgot how to block, left his blocking gloves in the locker room, right? You've seen that a couple times this year from each player. If that happens, you're in trouble. And then when you talk about those skill players, the receivers, Zay Jones, Evan Ingram, did they forget to stick them in the locker room this week? Hopefully not. I think it's going to be a Christian Kirk type of week. But there's been too many weeks where you just have something happen on offense where one of your key cogs completely forgets what they're doing. Like you're getting paid millions of dollars to catch the football. If you're Cam or Jawan, like why are you able to sustain such quality performance most of the season, and then you have these games like where you just can't hold a candle to your opponent? For Cam Robinson, it happened against 6th-round pick James Houston, who is playing really good football for the Detroit Lions. For Jawan, it's happened against the Chiefs. It's happened against the Eagles. You need these guys to play at the top of their game this week, and they've done it a lot of times, right? Like against good quality competition. You've seen the Jaguars offensive line take care of business against the Chargers, Khalil Mack. You've seen them take care of business against the Raiders with Max Crosby and Chandler Jones. You've seen them do it. But you've also seen them not do it. So which guys are we going to get when you talk about the offensive tackles, when you talk about the receivers not named Christian Kirk? You need these guys to play good football for you. You also need Mike Caldwell and his players to come out aggressively. Like, that's why Mike Caldwell is here. He's supposed to match Doug Peterson's aggressive offensive approach on the defensive side of the ball. And he did that last week. But too often this season, this defense has looked passive. It's looked conservative. It's looked outcoached. And if they play conservative and passive ball against these Cowboys, they're going to run right through them and right past them. It's going to be ugly. My final point for the defensive side of the ball and my final key here, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 big keys. You've got to come up with a better game plan for CeeDee Lamb than you did Amon-Ra St. Brown. They are not the same players, but they move around the formation in a lot of the same ways, right? You'll see Amon-Ra all over the field. You'll also see CeeDee Lamb all over the field, whether it's lined up out wide, whether he's lined up in the slot, whether he's getting the ball on some quick action, jet sweep, different things. They're going to get the ball in his hands quickly. Can you do a better job against CeeDee Lamb than you did against Amon-Ra St. Brown against the Lions? I think you're going to need to keep this one under control. And I think if the Jaguars do 3 of those 4 keys to victory, if they're able to achieve 3 of those 4 keys to victory, that they will win the game. And again, that's slowing down the running game at times. You don't have to do it all day, but you've got to do it when it counts at certain spots. You've got to. Trevor's got to be Trevor. I believe that will happen. But in order for him to play at his best, you can't have Cam or Jawan forget how to block. You can't have Zay or Ev forget how to catch. You've got to have these players operating at a fairly high level. And then Mike Caldwell has to be aggressive on defense. And, of course, you have to figure out how to slow down CeeDee Lamb. Again, I think if the Jaguars do 3 of those 4 things, they'll win. Will they do that? I think they've got a great chance. But when it comes down to picking this football game, Dak and these guys have been a lot more big moments than the Jags, and I do think that matters. I don't think it's the end-all, be-all, because your head coach, Doug Peterson, can get you through a lot of these moments with his decision-making, in my opinion. But quite frankly, on paper, the Cowboys defense matches up better with the Jaguars offense than the Jaguars defense does with the Cowboys offense, in my opinion. And you talk about Doug Peterson versus Dan Campbell, that's a real chess match right there. That's 2 coaches on the opposite side, Doug Peterson calling the offense, Dan Campbell calling the defense for the Cowboys, that are really doing things at a high level. Is Mike Caldwell going to be able to hold a candle to Kellen Moore and Mike McCarthy? That's the question. And so for me, when I'm predicting this game, there's a lot of variables that go into it. I think this is going to be a close competitive contest that I think the Jaguars can win. But I'm taking the Cowboys. Why? Again, I think on paper, from a personnel standpoint defensively, from a coaching standpoint defensively, the Cowboys match up better with the Jags offense than the Jags defense does with the Cowboys offense. The Cowboys are the more experienced team. And me picking against the Jags has been a recipe for success lately. I just think the Cowboys are a little bit more complete in this one. But if you're taking the best head coach and the best quarterback, I'll take Doug and Trevor all day. I've got the Cowboys, though, winning this one by a final score of 27-25. A little bit of an odd score, but you get a lot of odd scores when you have a Doug Peterson coach team because sometimes you skip the field goals, you don't take them. Sometimes you go for the extra points. So I'm predicting here with the Jaguars scoring 25 points that they score 3 touchdowns, a 2-point conversion, and a field goal against the Cowboys in this one. Hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully the Jags can come out at home, and that's another thing here. The Jaguars have been better at home, not just under Doug Peterson, but since Trevor Lawrence has arrived in Jacksonville, right? They won 3 home games in 2021. All 3 of their wins were at home. Technically, one of those was in London. At home, though. It was a home game, technically. But yeah, they've beaten the Ravens at home this year. They've beaten the Raiders at home this year. They've beaten the Colts at home this year. So I think playing at home does matter. I think it's helpful. But I still got the Cowboys winning this football game, 27-25 over your Jacksonville Jaguars. Hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully home field advantage helps. Hopefully Jaguars fans show up in droves and drown out all the Cowboys fans that will be inside that stadium, inside TIAA Bank Field on Sunday. I think it's going to be a playoff environment. So if they get up for this one and play the way they need to play, it'll be an exciting time for the Jaguars. They could get to 6-8 this week. The Titans could fall to 7-7. You look at 6-8 and 7-7, you're right there. You are right there. So hopefully that's the way it goes down. Again, the Titans play the Chargers 425 in Los Angeles this weekend. That will do it. Thank you so much for tuning in, Duval. Reminder, hit me up on Twitter at Jordan DeLugo. Let me know what you think. Generation Jaguar at Generation Jag. Hit the like and subscribe button here on YouTube. You can also hit the notification bell so you don't miss a show. And of course, you can check out GenJag.com, pick up some new Duval gear. You can also become a channel member here on YouTube. Help support the channel and pick up some pretty cool perks, if I do say so myself. Thank you so much for tuning in, Duval. Have a great weekend.